Ladies and gentlemen, or really just gentlemen, because that's my entire viewer demographic, welcome in to yet another Heisman Ladder update, week number 10 edition, and my Heisman Ladder has changed, and there has been a change at the top. I will discuss my new Heisman Ladder, and then we'll talk about the current Vegas odds on who Vegas, thinks is going to be the Heisman, who has the best odds, the best value, overall things like that the rest of the season. My Heisman Ladder for week 10, yes, it is Kenneth Walker at number 1. His performance was everything you want in a Heisman moment. You talk about a rivalry, arch rivalry. You talk about a top 10 matchup, both undefeated teams needing Kenneth Walker to come up huge. Michigan State comes back in mainly due to Kenneth Walker. 5 rushing touchdowns, 197 rushing yards, really good yards per carry. It was the full performance. This is really the first true Heisman performance we've seen somebody have, and I have him at the top of my list. How can you not have him? He's really the first time he's got the rushing yards overall for the season, over 1,000. He's got the touchdowns. He has that season component stats. It's not like he just had this one big game. He's been doing it, but this is really I don't know how you could have anyone at number 1 when it comes to your current Heisman ladder. He is the one guy that's had a true Heisman moment against an arch rival where it's 2 undefeated teams, top 10 matchup. Michigan State's losing. He literally brings them back. Obviously the defense helps, other components, but 5 rushing touchdowns. He is number 1. Having said all of that, I do not expect Kenneth Walker to win the Heisman. His Heisman campaign is really going to come down to what he does in the last 2 weeks of the season at Ohio State, in Columbus, and then versus Penn State. I believe they're at home in East Lansing in that game. I don't think he's going to end up winning the Heisman. I believe Ohio State is going to just send so many run blitzes at Michigan State, and they're really going to limit Kenneth Walker. I'm shocked Michigan didn't end up just saying, listen, let's just make Peyton Thorne beat us to death. Make him throw arm punts, make him throw deep passes, one-on-one on the outside. We're just going to run blitz you every down. We cannot have Kenneth Walker beat us, but he ended up beating them, and I have him as my new number 1 overall player on my current Heisman ladder. Number 2, dropping down 1 spot, is Bryce Young, who was on a bye week. The thing with Bryce Young that I've kept saying, it almost felt like he was a placeholder at number 1. He really hasn't had any sort of Heisman moments. He's come into the season. He's played well. The loss to Texas A&M, yeah, sure, he could have helped Alabama win that game, but it was mainly on the defense overall. It's not like he had any crippling turnovers that directly caused that loss. I will say, if you want to think 3D, you want to have 1,000 IQ, if you're an Alabama fan who wants Bryce Young to win the Heisman, or just a fan or just someone who has Bryce Young, maybe you bet on him to win the Heisman, you're really going to want Auburn to keep winning. So that Alabama-Auburn rivalry game at the end of the year, maybe Auburn's a top 15 team, and then Bryce Young can potentially have his Heisman moment in that game. If you want Bryce Young to win the Heisman, you're rooting for Auburn the rest of the season, because other than that, I don't know who Bryce Young is going to face that's going to generate a Heisman moment when it comes to the regular season. Number 3, it is C.J. Stroud. I wouldn't say disappointing performance against Penn State, because we expected Penn State to play well, but it was just 1 touchdown for Stroud, especially a guy who missed the game earlier this year. Remember that he missed a potential stat padding type game against Akron where he probably would have thrown for 4 or 5 touchdowns, upped his overall efficiency, things like that. He missed that game. So this game where he only throws for 1 touchdown, it's important. He has 23 passing touchdowns now on the season, but overall, this was a game I really thought C.J. Stroud was going to leap ahead of Bryce Young, in part due to his great performance against Penn State, along with Bryce Young having a bye week. It didn't end up being a great performance for C.J. Stroud. He did limit, no turnovers, that's good, but just overall, Ohio State shooting themselves in the foot, running the ball a lot, pre-snap penalties at home. It's always the same thing, Ohio State, Penn State. You think Ohio State's finally going to blow them out, and the past 2 or 3 years, they've played okay. They've gotten the win. They're winning these games against Penn State by 10 points, but C.J. Stroud missed opportunity, still has a chance, still has big games in front of him. You're going to have probably a top 10 Michigan at the end of the year. You're going to have the game at home against Michigan State. There's Heisman potential in those 2 games, no doubt. This next game at Nebraska is more of a stat padding type game. Although Nebraska's a sneaky underrated team, better than the record, you're still going to expect Ohio State to win it. And then the Purdue game at home, not really anything there. Ohio State probably going to be around 24-point favorites in that one. Moving on to number 4, Caleb Williams. This probably will make people angry. Caleb Williams not starting the season as a starter. I will say, his efficiency has been amazing. It really has. I don't think Caleb Williams is going to win the Heisman. Will he get invited to New York? Right now, it's possible. It is possible. He's not going to have the overall season totals because we know Spencer Rattler started the season. He doesn't have that. But the game against Texas Tech, 6 touchdowns and like 7 incompletions. The guy is crazy. I get it's Texas Tech. It's the Big 12 defenses, we know. But his efficiencies right now, his PFF grade, it's through the roof. So we're going to have to see with Caleb Williams. I have him at number 4 right now. When it comes to his Heisman moment, look for that Oklahoma State game. It's going to be really interesting. If you want Caleb Williams to win the Heisman, you want that Oklahoma State game to be a huge game and really a staple game for him. I still think it's a long shot. He also is a true freshman, which is pretty frowned upon when it comes to winning the Heisman. Number 5, it is TreVeyon Henderson. I didn't even know if he was going to be on this list after the first half against Penn State. He started the game against Penn State like 9 carries for 8 yards. His overall yards per carry took a big hit in that game, but he did end up with 150 rushing yards and a touchdown, so it didn't derail his Heisman chances. He's kind of like C.J. Stroud. He's in the same boat in terms of schedule where you're going to have the games. Henderson does have the touchdowns overall, maybe the yardage a little bit down because the usage isn't as high as some of these other running backs like a Kenneth Walker, mainly due to TreVeyon Henderson being a true freshman. But overall, still time for TreVeyon. We're going to have to see what happens. I don't think he has much of a shot right now at winning it just due to the yards being so low, but the touchdowns are there. I think Ohio State's going to, it's going to be more C.J. Stroud than it is TreVeyon Henderson when it comes to Ohio State winning. And that's just kind of how it is with college football. There's a lot more passing than there is rushing. Number 6, we're giving a shout out Sam Hartman. I will say the one really intriguing thing with Sam Hartman, Wake Forest is undefeated. And if they somehow, which logically it definitely can happen, the ACC is not the best conference. If they go undefeated and Sam Hartman, like this weekend for Sam Hartman against North Carolina, I understand North Carolina has 4 losses, whatever. It's still a Heisman potential moment. This is going to be a shootout against North Carolina. If this kid goes out there and throws for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns, he's going to be moving up the Heisman list. If you're a Wake Forest fan, you should be extremely excited for this weekend's game, especially when it comes to Sam Hartman's Heisman chances. He's putting up great stats. Wake Forest, again, they're undefeated. If they finish the season undefeated, that dude, and he has good stats, he's at least going to New York. Moving on to number 7, Matt Corral. I cannot, I don't know how he should be off of my list. He really should be. Another week, another disappointing Matt Corral performance. That's about 5 weeks in a row now. Matt Corral, 0 passing touchdowns this past week against Auburn. They lose. This is Ole Miss's 2nd loss. I'm sick of hearing about this kid. I'm done with it. But for some reason, he's still high up on the odds, so I got to add him onto this list. It's whatever. The guy's thrown, I think, 5 touchdown passes in his last 4 games. And he's had these game after game after game. Here's a Heisman chance. Here's a Heisman chance. Auburn, Alabama, Tennessee. No, not good enough. I don't know why this kid is still on this list. How many chances are we going to give him? It's like Matt Corral could go out and murder 2 people tomorrow, and his odds would drop from like plus 275 to plus 350. Oh, he still has a chance, right? Yeah, give me a break with this kid. I'm sick of it. I am sick of it. Kenny Pickett coming in at number 8. He did throw for 500 yards, but you lost to Miami, right? The only reason I still have him on here is because, let's be real, 500 yards, that's a lot of yards. 3 touchdowns. I believe he did have 2 interceptions. But Kenny Pickett, still really good overall stats, really good totals. But yeah, he's pretty much out of it at this point with the 2nd loss to Miami. And then number 9, Dontavian Wicks. A quick shout out to this kid from Virginia. Brennan Armstrong, I gave him a shout out at the bottom of my Heisman ladder last week. Wicks is averaging 23 yards per catch, and he has over 900 receiving yards. This kid's amazing. He's amazing. I love giving shout outs to him. And then Nakobe Dean, beast, absolute beast for Georgia, the linebacker. 2 little shout-outs there at the bottom of the Heisman list. No, they don't have a chance to win the Heisman, but you got to shout some of these kids out. They're having great seasons. Those 2 kids, Nakobe Dean, everyone, that Georgia defense, you have like 55 stars, you throw them on the field, that's what happens. That's the Georgia defense. It's crazy. It's unbelievable. Jordan Davis is another one. We all know about Jordan Davis and how he affects the interior, how he affects an offense's ability to run the football. And these are the new updated Heisman odds. As you can see, still Bryce Young is first. That doesn't surprise me at all in the overall odds, him being ahead of Kenneth Walker. Matt Corral, I'm not even talking about it. C.J. Stroud is 3rd. Kenneth Walker slots in at number 4, plus 500 in these odds. Caleb Williams comes in at number 6. Kenny Pickett, Trevion Henderson all the way down there at plus 3,000. Decent value on that. Desmond Ridder has no chance. Bijan Robinson has no chance. Sam Hartman, that's better value than I would have thought, plus 4,000. His team is undefeated. Brian Robinson, the Bama running back, no way. And then Jordan Davis, shout out to him, the defensive tackle. Heisman Watch rankings, you've got Kenneth Walker, the third, number 1 on this list. Bryce Young, second. CJ Stroud, third. Corral, fourth here. I would put Hartman above Kenny Pickett. Hartman has 0 losses at this point. Kenny Pickett has 2. Sean Taylor, the Syracuse running back, currently leads FBS in rushing yards. Kenneth Walker is second, if you guys didn't know that. But I think Syracuse hasn't had their bye week yet, and Michigan State did have their bye week. And then he has Caleb Williams at 8. I have Caleb Williams higher. I understand people not loving the whole Caleb Williams for Heisman thing. I don't think he should win it. I mean, you know, you don't. What did he not start the first 5 games of the season? But when he came in, you know, and he led the comeback against, I guess you could say that's his Heisman moment, leading the comeback against Texas. But then again, Texas now is, what, a 4-loss team and trending down at this point. They're probably going to lose again this week to Iowa State. So I don't know about that. These are more overall odds that have Bryce Young first at plus 200. Kenneth Walker is second in these odds, plus 375. Caleb Williams. So kind of all over the place overall. CJ Stroud. I still do think CJ Stroud right now is the best value, kind of trending around plus 400, plus 500. And then Sam Hartman, if you want to get really crazy, again, the opportunity is there. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think Wake Forest is going undefeated, but there is that chance. You can get him at like plus 4,000 overall. Some of the worst odds, Matt Corral, no clue. Just no clue. I mean, again, Matt Corral could go out and throw 5 interceptions next week this week against Liberty, and they move him down to like, oh, now he's like plus 700. Yeah, he still has a chance, right? You have 5 passing touchdowns in your last 4 games. You have chance after chance after chance. Bad defense after bad defense. Okay, Auburn's a good defense, but still, you have chance after chance. And you're just striking out. You're striking out. I'm sick of hearing about it. Another one, Bryce Young first. Oh, my God. These are actually updated Heisman odds, ladies and gentlemen. Matt Corral plus 275. If you are betting Matt Corral for Heisman plus 275 right now, after his last 4 games, 5 passing touchdowns, you're betting him plus 275? Oh, that's great value. Unbelievable. Why is this game? Again, he could murder 2 people. His odds would be like plus 320 then. Oh, yeah, we'll bring him down a little bit. Yeah, I'm sick of it. CJ Stroud, plus 450 is decent. Kenneth Walker, plus 500 is pretty good value. The thing with Kenneth Walker, like, he's leading the overall, he's leading my overall ladder. It's just tough because I think defenses are going to start keying in on him, and there's really nothing you can do as a running back if they're run blitzing you on every down. It's so tough. It's so easier for a quarterback to adjust to a certain type of defense and still be successful. A lot harder to do it as a running back, and I think some of these teams, like Ohio State, second last game of the season, like Penn State last game of the season with their good defensive line, and the Illinois game notwithstanding, it's going to be very tough for Kenneth Walker to run the ball, and they're going to have to rely on Peyton Thorne and those receivers for Michigan State. So guys, overall right now, I will say Kenneth Walker, you got to give it to him. He's been the one player that's had a Heisman moment. If you want to say Caleb Williams coming into the game and beating Texas, that's a distant second in terms of Heisman moments. Right now, Kenneth Walker running away with the Heisman moment. He is number 1 on my list, although we'll have to see. Will Bryce Young get that chance against an Auburn team? If Auburn keeps winning, they're a top 15 team. Bryce Young has a huge game against Auburn. Caleb Williams could have a huge game against Oklahoma State. You've got CJ Stroud, the rivalry with Michigan, probably a top 10 matchup. You've got CJ Stroud with Michigan State as well. There are opportunities for guys. This should be a great finish to a Heisman race that really, it's just starting to heat up. We're finally getting somewhere with some of these players having big games. But guys, that is going to do it for this video, for this Heisman update, week number 10. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description. I'm, of course, the Depressed Ginger. Thank you for watching.